There is a tree native to Africa that crossed the Indian Ocean before recorded history. By the time Sanskrit was written, this tree was already ancient medicine in India. The Persians called its fruit Tamar Hindi, the Indian date. The Arabs traded it along the Silk Road as a cure for fever, pain, and infection. The Spanish brought it to Mexico in the 1500s. The Portuguese planted it in Brazil. Within 1,000 years, every civilization on Earth that touched this tree made its fruit their primary medicine. Not secondary, primary. It reduced fever without aspirin. It healed the gut without omeprazole. It lowered cholesterol without statins. It killed bacteria without antibiotics. It detoxed the body without dialysis. One tree, one fruit. 5 pharmaceutical categories replaced. For 4,000 years, no civilization that had access to this tree needed a pharmacy. Then, in 1899, the modern pharmaceutical industry was born. And it realized something immediately. You cannot charge a subscription for a pod that falls from a tree. This is tamarind. It costs 80 cents. It heals 6 organs. It has never killed a single human being in 3,000 years of documented use. And the industry that replaced it kills 16,500 Americans per year with the drugs it sells instead. Subscribe and hit the bell. Every share helps preserve what they tried to erase. The tree is Tamarindus indica, a leguminous tree indigenous to tropical Africa. The exact origin point is debated among botanists, Sudan, Madagascar, or the dry savannas of West Africa. But by the time any civilization carved words into stone or pressed ink onto papyrus, tamarind was already there, already integrated into medicine, already feeding and healing populations that had no other healthcare system. The earliest documented references appear in Ayurvedic texts from India, where tamarind was classified as amla rasa, sour taste, and prescribed for digestive disorders, fever, blood purification, and inflammation. In Ayurveda, it was not a supplementary ingredient. It was a frontline intervention. The fruit of digestion, the cleanser of blood, the reducer of pitta, the internal fire that, in Ayurvedic philosophy, drives all inflammatory disease. Across the continent of Africa, the pattern repeats independently. A comprehensive study published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology mapped tamarind's medicinal use across the entire African continent. The researchers found it present in traditional healing systems from Senegal in the west to Tanzania in the east. In West Africa, the fruit pulp is used primarily as a laxative and febrifuge, a fever reducer. The bark and leaves treat wounds. The roots treat diarrhea and dysentery. In Central Africa, it addresses parasitic infections. In East Africa, it treats malaria and respiratory illness. 4,000 miles of continent. Dozens of distinct ethnic groups. No shared medical literature, no professional conferences, no peer-reviewed journals, and yet the same fruit applied to the same conditions, producing the same results, independently, for millennia. When the Spanish colonized Mexico in the 1500s, they brought tamarind with them. It rooted immediately in Mexican soil and Mexican culture. Agua de tamarindo, tamarind, water became one of the most popular street beverages in the country. Tamarind candy became a cultural staple. The Portuguese did the same in Brazil. The British carried it across the Caribbean, Jamaica, Trinidad, Guyana. In every colony where tamarind was introduced, the local population adopted it not only as food, but as medicine. In Jamaica, traditional herbal medicine uses tamarind to relieve constipation, reduce fever, and soothe sore throats. In Trinidad, it is given to children for stomach parasites. In Guyana, it is considered a blood cleanser. This is not folklore. This is convergent empirical evidence across 3 continents for millennia and dozens of independent civilizations. When that many cultures arrive at the same conclusion without communicating, the conclusion is not anecdotal, it is signal. Now here is what modern science confirmed when it finally bothered to look. Organ 1. The brain. On January 25, 1945, Grand Rapids, Michigan became the first city in the United States to add fluoride to its public drinking water. The stated purpose was dental health, reducing cavities in children. The program was deemed a success. By 2024, over 70% of the American public water supply was what was not disclosed in 1945 and has only recently entered peer-reviewed literature is what fluoride does once it accumulates beyond the teeth. A 2020 study published in Applied Sciences confirms that fluoride exposure contributes to increased pineal gland calcification and subsequent decreases in nighttime melatonin production. The pineal gland regulates sleep, circadian rhythm, and hormonal balance. Fluoride calcifies it. A systematic review published in 2023 in The Science of the Total Environment found that exposure to high fluoride drinking water appears to affect thyroid function and increase TSH release in children. Fluoride was actually used as a thyroid suppressant in the mid-20th century. Doctors prescribed 2 to 5 milligrams per day to patients with hyperthyroidism to slow their thyroid function, that is within the range of fluoride that Americans consume daily from municipal water. In Rajasthan, India, where groundwater fluoride levels are dangerously high, 1/4 of the rural population suffers from fluorosis, skeletal deformity, neurological damage, joint destruction, brown-stained teeth. In 2002, researchers published a clinical trial on PubMed. They gave 18 schoolboys in a fluoridenic region of India 10 grams of tamarind pulp per day. For 18 days, the result, urinary fluoride excretion, increased from 3.5 milligrams per day to 4.8 milligrams per day, a 37% increase. The tartaric acid in tamarind, a compound so concentrated in this fruit that tamarind is considered its primary natural dietary source, on Earth, binds to fluoride ions in the bloodstream and facilitates their excretion through the kidneys. The study is public. It is indexed on PubMed. It has been cited in subsequent fluoride research. It has never been referenced in a single U.S. public health advisory, CDC document, municipal water report, or physician consultation. In 81 years of fluoridation policy, the one food clinically proven to reverse fluoride accumulation has never been publicly acknowledged by the institutions that put it there. Organ 2, the liver. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is now the most common chronic liver condition in the Western world. It affects 25% of the global population. Driven by processed food, refined sugar, excessive alcohol, and environmental toxins, it progresses silently until the liver is inflamed, scarred, or failing. There is no FDA-approved pharmaceutical drug to treat it, none. The pharmaceutical industry has spent billions attempting to develop one. Multiple drug candidates have failed in late-stage clinical trials. The standard medical advice remains lifestyle modification. Lose weight, eat better, exercise. No pill, no injection, no intervention your doctor can prescribe. Tamarind fruit extract contains procyanidins, a class of polyphenolic antioxidants that have demonstrated hepatoprotective effects in published research. A study in food and chemical toxicology identified these compounds in the pericarp and seeds of tamarind, confirming measurable antioxidant activity. A separate study published in the RSC journal Food and Function demonstrated that procyanidin-rich tamarind seed extract mitigates liver oxidative stress in arthritic models, reducing both oxidative stress markers and delaying progression of liver cell damage. The fruit protects the organ that the pharmaceutical industry has spent billions failing to treat, for 80 cents per serving, with zero adverse effects for 3,000 years. Organ 3, the heart. A 2025 study published in Food and Function tested tamarind extract on subjects with elevated cholesterol over a 10-week period. Total cholesterol dropped by 50%. LDL cholesterol, the fraction most associated with cardiovascular disease, dropped by 73%. Triglycerides dropped by 60%. These are numbers that meet or exceed the performance of pharmaceutical statins. The statin drug market generates over $18 billion per year in the United States alone. Statins cause muscle pain, statin-associated muscle symptoms, in up to 29% of patients. They can elevate liver enzymes, increase diabetes risk, and cause cognitive fog in a subset of users. Tamarind achieved comparable lipid reduction in the published study, with zero reported adverse effects. No muscle pain, no liver stress, no cognitive impairment, no diabetes risk. 80 cents per day versus $40 per month. And no doctor in America is prescribing it, because no drug representative walked into their office and handed them a tamarind sample. Organ 4, the kidneys. A study published in Nutrition. Research examined the lithogenic properties of urine, meaning its tendency to form kidney stones in subjects consuming tamarind extract daily. The finding, complete disappearance of calcium oxalate crystals in urine, not reduction, disappearance. Calcium oxalate crystals are the primary building blocks of kidney stones, the aggregates that grow, calcify, and eventually obstruct the ureter with pain so severe it is routinely compared to childbirth. Kidney stone surgery in the United States costs between $9,000 and $35,000 per procedure. Depending on the method, lithotripsy, ureteroscopy, or percutaneous nephrolithotomy, approximately 600,000 Americans undergo treatment for kidney stones every year. A fruit that costs 80 cents per serving eliminated the crystals that form them. The published study exists. The urologist who charges $35,000 per procedure has never mentioned it. Not because the evidence is weak, because the incentive is absent. Organ 5. The gut. Ayurveda called tamarind the fruit of digestion 3,000 years ago. It was prescribed for constipation, bloating, indigestion, and sluggish bowel function. Modern research confirms this classification with specificity. Tamarind contains significant dietary fiber that promotes peristalsis, the rhythmic contraction that moves food through the intestine. Its tartaric acid stimulates bile secretion, improving fat digestion and nutrient absorption. Its polyphenolic compounds support microbial diversity in the gut, feeding beneficial bacteria while suppressing pathogenic strains. The antacid and digestive drug market generates over $9 billion per year in the United States. Proton pump inhibitors like omeprazole are prescribed to over 15 million Americans annually. Long-term PPI use depletes magnesium, a mineral essential for 300 enzymatic reactions in the body. It increases kidney disease risk by 20 to 50% depending on the study. It is associated with increased hip fracture rates in elderly patients. It reduces stomach acid so aggressively that nutrient absorption, particularly iron, calcium, and vitamin B12, is compromised. Tamarind supports the same digestive function. Without suppressing stomach acid, without depleting minerals, without increasing kidney risk, without requiring a follow-up prescription to manage the side effects of the first. This is the prescription cascade. One drug creates a side effect that requires a second drug, which creates a side effect that requires a third. Tamarind breaks the cascade before it begins. 80 cents. No cascade, no loop, no follow-up appointment. Organ 6. The skin. A study published in the International Journal of Cosmetic Science tested tamarind seed extract topically on human skin. The researchers measured elasticity, hydration, and roughness before and after application. The results: significant increase in skin elasticity, measurable increase in hydration, and reduction in surface roughness. They concluded that tamarind seed extract exhibits potent anti-aging effects. Its alpha-hydroxy acids, particularly tartaric acid, promote gentle exfoliation. Its antioxidants reduce oxidative damage that causes fine lines, uneven tone, and hyperpigmentation. The global anti-aging skincare market is worth over $62 billion. Premium serums retail for $80 to $300 per ounce. Many contain synthesized versions of the same acid classes that occur naturally in tamarind. The raw ingredient tamarind seed extract costs approximately $4 for 3 months of topical supply. Nobody in the beauty industry will tell you this, because nobody in a $62 billion industry profits from a $4 solution that cannot be patented, branded, or marked up. 6 organs, 1 fruit. Peer-reviewed research for every single claim. And the pharmaceutical industry requires 6 departments, 6 drug classes, 6 separate patents, 6 clinical development pipelines costing $1 to $2 billion each, and 6 recurring monthly prescriptions to address what a single pod from a single tree accomplishes simultaneously, for 80 cents per day, with 0 recorded adverse effects, across 3,000 years of continuous human consumption. Now here is why you have never heard this in a doctor's office. You cannot patent a fruit. That single sentence explains the entire structure of modern healthcare economics. If a substance cannot be patented, no corporation will invest $1 to $2 billion in clinical trials to prove it works. If no corporation funds trials, no regulatory body issues approval. If no regulatory body approves it, no doctor can formally prescribe it. If no doctor prescribes it, no insurance company reimburses it. If no insurance company reimburses it, no patient asks for it. The pipeline from discovery to prescription requires a patent at the origin. Tamarind has no patent. It cannot have one. It is a plant that grows on a tree in 50 countries. The system is not designed to suppress tamarind actively. It suppresses it structurally through omission, through architecture, through the economic reality that healing without profit is, to this system, healing without purpose. 40% of pharmaceutical products today draw from nature and traditional knowledge, according to the World Health Organization. Aspirin came from willow bark. Digitalis came from foxglove. Quinine came from cinchona bark. Morphine came from opium poppy. Artemisinin came from sweet wormwood in Chinese medicine. Each time the plant was taken, the active compound isolated, the whole food discarded, the synthetic version patented, and the price multiplied by 1,000. Tamarind escaped this extraction not because it lacks active compounds, but because it contains too many of them working in concert. No single molecule can be isolated to replicate what the whole fruit does, so instead of being stolen and synthesized, tamarind was simply abandoned, left in the kitchens of the colonized, moved to the ethnic aisle when those populations immigrated west and shelved bottom row. Minimum visibility, no marketing, no signage, where the profit margin is zero and the pharmaceutical threat is maximum. Here is what you do. Go to any Asian, Indian, Mexican, or Caribbean grocery store, or the ethnic aisle of any mainstream supermarket. Buy tamarind in any form. Whole pods with brittle brown shells that you crack open to reveal dark sticky pulp. A compressed block of seedless tamarind paste, a jar of tamarind concentrate cost $2 to $4 for 2 to 4 weeks of daily use. The clinical dose is 10 grams of tamarind pulp per day, approximately 1 tablespoon. Eat it directly. It is sour, tangy, slightly sweet. Dissolve it in warm water with a pinch of salt or a half teaspoon of honey for agua de tamarindo. Stir it into soups, curries, stir-fries, or marinades. Blend it into smoothies. The delivery method is irrelevant. The dose is what matters. 10 grams, daily, 80 cents. Within 18 days per the published clinical data, fluoride excretion begins increasing measurably. Within weeks of consistent daily use, anti-inflammatory effects accumulate. Digestive function improves. Cholesterol markers begin shifting. This is not a one-time cleanse. This is a daily food, a daily medicine, the way 3 billion people across Asia, Africa, and Latin America already consume it. The way grandmothers on 3 continents have administered it for 4,000 years without a medical degree, without a prescription pad, and without a single patient dying from it. The pharmaceutical industry did not ban tamarind. It did not need to. It built a system where unpatentable solutions are architecturally invisible. No funding, no trials, no approval, no prescription, no reimbursement, no awareness, not through conspiracy, through structure. The most elegant form of suppression is the one that requires no active effort, just a system designed to see only what it can bill for. And a fruit that costs 80 cents will never generate a bill. The fruit is in your grocery store right now. Ethnic aisle, bottom shelf. Behind a label in a language most Americans were never taught to read. $3.97 per pound, enough for a month. Your grandmother knew what it did. She did not need a study. She had 3,000 years of grandmothers before her who already proved it. Your doctor does not know. Not because the evidence is missing, because the system that trained your doctor was not designed to find it. That is not an accident. That is a revenue model. If this story opened something for you, subscribe and hit the bell. Every like and every share preserves what they tried to erase. The next story opens soon.